Assalamualaikum, Warahmatullahi, Wabarakatuh. It's your favorite revert, Brittany Khadija, and welcome back to the Melanated Muslimah podcast. I have missed you all. I know it's been a while since I've done a podcast. If you remember what I spoke about in my last podcast about the stuff I was going through, obviously I'm still going through it, but alhamdulillah, I'm here, and just praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, in this episode, I want to be talking about my first week of Ramadan recap. We are on day 9 of Ramadan, subhanallah. And I just want to talk about what's going on. I wanted to give a recap. Instead of doing it at the end of Ramadan, I said, why not me do it in the middle of Ramadan? Where the feels are still there, I'm in the heart of it. So if you follow me on TikTok or Instagram, I have a Ramadan daily series that's going on now. In the series, I'm sharing facts about Islam, sharing insight of my journey to Islam, and sharing facts about some famous people who are Muslim. So that is what's going on over there. And the first day of Ramadan, which was March 1st, I went to Taraweeh because I love going to Taraweeh. Taraweeh is my favorite part of Ramadan. And it's so crazy because I'm like sweating a lot. I'm hot, but it's like my favorite part, subhanAllah. So before Ramadan, we were talking about like how do you tell that Ramadan's starting. So our head imam was like, oh, you're going to see the crescent moon and you're going to see on the west. That's how you know that Ramadan's starting. He goes, oh, it's really hard for you to see the crescent moon where we live because of like it's really cloudy and you're unable to see it. So I was like, okay, cool. I won't be able to see it. Hopefully somebody takes a picture. So I am on my way to Taraweeh, and subhanallah, I see the crescent moon. And I was like screaming in my car because I never saw a crescent moon before. So I was just like, oh my goodness, there's a crescent moon. And I was like freaking out and ended up getting a nice picture of it. And I went to go pick up my friend. So we were carpooling to Taraweeh. And I told her I was outside. And I was like outside of my car looking for the moon so I could show it to her. She was in the same talk with me, so she also heard that it was hard to see the crescent moon. So she wasn't able to see it where she lives. But as we're driving, we saw it again, and we're like freaking out. And I'm just like, what? I saw the crescent moon. I can't believe it. It was so interesting to see, and like to see like, wow, this is the start of Ramadan. And I just know that I got a picture of it. It was so cool. But obviously the pitch, seeing it live is better than the camera because the camera doesn't pick up the beauty of the moon like your iPhone camera, in my opinion. So I saw it and I was like, okay, awesome. This is like a good start to the first day of Ramadan, subhanAllah. So I go to the first Taraweeh, and I usually cry in Taraweeh, subhanAllah. I just feel like so connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out of gratefulness and gratitude. Like in my Ramadan Daily episode 1, I said, subhanAllah, I get to witness my third Ramadan. Like I made my third Ramadan, and inshallah I will get to be able to witness it until the end. But how lucky am I that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me the blessings of another Ramadan? Because there's so many people who didn't see another Ramadan. And there was even in the khutbah on Friday, the Friday before Ramadan, one of the sheikhs was like, about 20 plus people has passed away since the last Ramadan in our community, but we are here to witness Ramadan. They didn't even know that that was their last Ramadan, so let's make the best of it. So as I was like remembering that, and then like realizing that I got to see the moon and stuff like that, and just being so grateful that like what did I do for me to deserve something like this, and to see that, I'm just completely grateful for it. So the first Taraweeh, I was like, okay, it's day 1. I'm not going to cry and stuff like that. Guess who cried? Me. I don't know what is it about Taraweeh that just makes me so emotional and makes me have such a deep connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's really beautiful and extremely humbling, and it's something I don't take for granted because I don't know how to describe it. I just feel really connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that moment. Then I went to a revert iftar. So my mosque, they have weekly meetings for new Muslims, and then every Sunday they put together a revert iftar for us, which I think is so beautiful. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless everybody whose hands is in part of putting this together for us reverts to make sure that we feel welcomed into the community. Like, it's such a beautiful thing, and I'm extremely grateful for that as well. And then I went to my second Terawih when I was there. And of course, I cried again. And I just enjoyed it so much. Then on Tuesday, I go to an iftar. I got invited. I'm extremely grateful that I am welcomed by the community and are invited to stuff, and extremely grateful. And I always tell everybody who invites me, I always like show gratitude to them, because I am a newbie in the community. Even though I've like been Muslim for almost 3 years, but I'm still relatively new in my opinion. So just to be invited to something was so nice. So I get invited to iftar, and it was nice to be around everybody, talk to people, ask people how their Ramadan is going. So after Taraweeh, I was like, oh, let me go to Whole Foods and stuff like that. As I'm in the Whole Foods parking lot, guess who sees the crescent moon again? Subhanallah. I was like, what? I saw the crescent moon on Saturday. Now I'm seeing it on Tuesday. And this is my second time seeing a crescent moon in my life. And I'm like, what? And I was with the same person that when I was on the way to pick her up to go to Taraweeh, I was with her again when I saw the crescent moon. And she's like, subhanallah, we're getting spoiled. I'm like, yes, we are getting spoiled. And I'm just like, we're not supposed to be able to see the moon in this time of year because it's supposed to be too cloudy where we live. And we saw it twice. And last night Friday night when I went to Taraweeh, on my way there's like a half moon. And I'm like, why am I able to see the moon so often? Like, what is going on? And then I saw the moon last night when I went to Taraweeh again. And I'm just like, the moon and like is just being so like just there. And I'm like, what? We're supposed to live in a cloudy area. We're supposed to live in a cloudy area. What is going on? Why am I able to see the moon so much? Subhanallah. And it's so interesting because like at night there's hardly any clouds in the sky lately. And it's been super windy. So it's like I am being killed by the wind, but amazed by the moon outside. So I just thought that was so beautiful. And I made some Ramadan goals for myself, and so two of the Ramadan goals that I would share with you all is reading the Quran. Well, I'll share 3 Ramadan goals. The Quran, so I'm reading the English transliteration of the Quran, and I'm reading a juz a day, subhanAllah. So it's day 9, so I'm currently on the 9th juz, and inshallah I'll be able to finish that tonight. So also to help me like read it and to help me like concentrate, because I've been having like problems where I can't concentrate properly lately, but Allahu Alam. I downloaded this app that's called the Clear Quran app, where they read the Clear Quran English transliteration to you. And I was just like, this is so amazing. So I'm listening to it, and then I'm like following along with my Clear Quran, and I have it on the Kindle app, so I like get to highlight like verses that I like. And one thing, I do have like the physical book, but I want to highlight like things that stuck out to me this Ramadan, and to like after Ramadan go back and look at it and see the verses again. So I like that. And then you can clear the highlights, because I don't want to like highlight my actual book. So I've been listening to that, which has been just like the sound effects and the production of it all. It just hones it in, and it gives like the transliteration of the Quran a deeper meaning to me. So subhanallah. And being that I am in Arabic class and I'm still learning how to read, I have been reading a page of the regular Quran a day, and I've been doing a page for about 9 days. And I like, when I would read the Quran regularly, I would read like a few verses, but I was like, you know what? Let me challenge myself to do a page a day. And subhanAllah, I see the difference in myself when it comes to reading and to pronunciation. Like, we had Arabic class the last week of February, and I was like struggling to read. I was making a lot of mistakes when I was reading out loud in the class. And then this week in the class, I had to read 3 verses in out loud. The first one, I was like nervous, so I'm like messed up, because I be so nervous, y'all. I'm gonna give you a little detail. I'll be so nervous reading in front of everyone, because when you're reading in front of the teacher, and like everybody can listen to you, and then you over here struggling with dal, and dal. Like, I don't, and then ayin and guayin, you know what I mean? The ha and ha. So it's just like, then you be struggling. So I was like, okay, I was nervous. And then I read two other verses, and subhanAllah, I barely made any mistakes. I went slow at a like good pace, and I was like, wow, I even impressed myself. Only like two letters I need to work on the pronunciation on. And I was just like, what? Like, what happened? So, like, reading the page a day has really made an improvement in me because I have taken my time to read and taking more time to work on certain pronunciations that I'm having trouble with and taking more time than I usually do. So, I just think because it's Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes things easier for us and easier for us to understand, in my opinion. So, it's just been a new awakening in me, subhanAllah. And another thing that I've been doing, a part of my Ramadan goals, is watching the Omar Solomon series. Subhanallah, his series is so good. It's talking about the Barza. I don't know if I pronounce it Barzha. I don't know if that's the way you pronounce it, but he's talking about it, and it's just so beautiful, and it makes me so emotional and stuff like that to watch it. I'm also watching Dr. Hanifa Yunus series. I'm also watching the series from the YouTube page called El Maghrib, and also from Kalam Institute. So I'm watching those, and this Ramadan does feel extremely different because it is my third Ramadan. Subhanallah, I feel more like connected, and like when I was in Taraweeh, and when I was sitting like listening to the Kaaba and listening to something, I was like, I am really a Muslim. Like before, I felt like really new and stuff like that, but like it just honed into me like I'm really a Muslim. I really converted to Islam, and I'm really here almost 3 years later, taking it seriously, being active in my Muslim community, having connections at the masjid, and being here and listening to this and hugging people that I know and seeing familiar faces and saying salam to them and just being here. And I'm like, I'm really a Muslim. And then I told myself, at what point do I stop considering myself to be a new Muslim? And when I was at the iftar that I went to, the girl who invited me and her mom were close to me. And I was like, thank you for inviting me, for me being a revert. It's so nice to have that because I know some reverts don't have that. And she was like, we don't see you as a revert. We just see you as a Muslim. And that was like awakening to me because I know some reverts who don't even have revert on their page anymore. On my page, I have your favorite revert. And then I'm like, at what time in my timeline do I stop calling myself a revert? Even though I am. But, because like there's one lady in the revert group that until she told me that she was a revert, I would have never known that she reverted to Islam. Subhanallah. And I'm like, at what point do I get to that? And I did have people come up to me, like maybe one or two people, say to me that they couldn't tell that I was a revert. I seemed like a born Muslim, and I was like, subhanallah, like that's a compliment. And I was like, okay, I love that, but I'm like, at one point, do I consider myself just to be Muslim rather than to be a revert? Even though I am, I'm not gonna give up my revert title, of course, but I'm like, at what state do I become that? So that was like another thing that I realized that like, yeah, I'm really a Muslim. This is really my third Ramadan. I have a routine when it comes to this. And Allah, even like the goals that I set this time are more realistic than the first two times. Like the first one, I had no goals. The second time, I had way too many goals. And this one, I'm just like, I have 3 simple goals. And subhanAllah, I am getting through them by the grace of the Almighty, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And just feeling close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, waking up for tahajjud and praying fajr and doing like, and then being in the remembrance of Allah, like as you're eating your sahur and stuff like that. So it's just been really beautiful, and I am extremely grateful for my first Ramadan. I said my first Ramadan. My third Ramadan, I'm extremely grateful for it. And I will be here hopefully next week, inshallah, to give you an update on my second week of Ramadan. Assalamualaikum, Warahmatullahi, Wabarakatuh.